said. Then the loud sound, it seemed to fade. Came back like a slow voice on a wave of fate. That weren't no DJ, that was hazy cosmic jive. There's a starman waiting in the sky. He'd like to come and meet us, but he thinks he'd blow our minds. There's a starman waiting in the sky. He's told us not to blow it, 'cause he knows it's all worthwhile. He told me, let the children lose it, let the children use it, let all the children boogie. Switch on the TV, we may pick him up on channel 2. Look out your window, I can see his light. If we can sparkle, he may land tonight. Don't tell your papa, or he'll get us locked up in flight. There's a starman waiting in the sky. He'd like to come and meet us, but he thinks he'd blow our minds. There's a starman waiting in the sky. He's told us not to blow it, 'cause he knows it's all worthwhile. He told me, let the children lose it, let the children use it, let all the children boogie. Starman waiting in the sky. He'd like to come and meet us, but he thinks he'd blow our minds. There's a starman waiting in the sky. He's told us not to blow it, 'cause he knows it's all worthwhile. He told me, let the children lose it, let the children use it, let all the children boogie.
Like a rock, like a planet, like a fucking atom bomb. I'll remain unperturbed by the joy and the madness that I encounter everywhere I turn. I've seen it all along, in books and magazines, like a twitch before dying, like a pornographic scene. There's a bar behind the window, there's an ugly laughing man, like a hummingbird in silence, like the blood on my door. It's a generator. Shore, I've known it all alone, like the bone under my skin, like actors in a photograph, like paper as a knife on the floor. Like turbines in darkness, like the blood on my door. It's the generator. Like the blood on my door. Wash me clean and I will run until I reach the shore.
Bad Religion. Bad Religion on Widdershins Radio. Radio for your spiritual side. A twisted approach to the left-hand path, and I'm doing my low-tech check of my audio quality. Let's see. There's a 7-second delay, but okay, it sounds good. Okay, let me turn that off. Widdershins. Radio for your spiritual side, a twisted approach to the left-hand path. We'd heard Bad Religion. I think David Bowie before that. Incubus, Succubus was in there somewhere. And 45 Grave, Evil, to start off the show. The clown to the right of me has run off to the, downstairs for some reason. But the cat's here. Hello, cat. I don't know if you can hear the cat. But... full disclosure, you, the listeners of Widdershins, whether you're listening to the archives or whether you're listening live, we love you. I love you, all of you, except for you, that one right over. You know who you are, what? And why you're listening. I'm talking about how much we love our listeners, except for that one.
Pointing at the screen.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, they can't tell that I'm pointing at the screen, but just somehow pointing at the screen gives a definition to my voice when I'm saying you over there, except for you. But we love our listeners, right?
Except for who?
That one that's out there. There's at least one out there.
A troll?
Of course there's a troll. We had Christian Day on last episode, and well, he's not a troll, but several of the listeners that, tuned in and gave us a click and, more towards our bottom line were actually trolls. Yeah.
So some guests come with their own set of trolls.
Uh-huh. That's right.
Troll deal.
And sometimes the trolls stick around. So I just figure, maybe one of the trolls might still be out there. So, we love you. We love you, our listeners, and we have sacrificed for Widdershins, because we haven't been able to go to the sacrifices.
We haven't been able to go to a Taco Tuesday. Is that what you're going to say?
That's what I'm going to say. See, this bitch is up in my head already. We haven't gone to Taco Tuesday since we started this show. We did
it today. We decided, we're going to go to Taco Tuesday, come hell or high water. We went to Taco Tuesday. We had a good time. It's the subject of my upcoming blog.
Made it lucrative.
And we made it home before the show started.
Yeah.
We sat around. You made me a cocktail.
That's that's where I was going to go. So I was just, full disclosure, since we love you so much, and, we're so open to you because of our vast love for our listeners. Like, Taco Tuesday is 3 tacos and a beer for
one
$10.
One of their on-site made draft beers. It's a craft beer place. And
My kind of place.
normally, by themselves, each pint is $8. But this way, you get a pint and 3, like, super gourmet tacos. They're not huge, by any means, but they're good.
Shrimp
They're
tacos
good.
today.
Like, the shrimp tacos had, like, at least, I don't know, 6 to 8 shrimp on there, and they weren't like the crappy breaded shrimp or anything. They were like, decent pieces of shrimp that, I want to say they were probably like stir fried or something. They didn't have any breading or like any of that deep fried shit that I hate. They were really good, and there was like a salsa verde, and they had squash blossoms on it. And then when we had chicken last time, it had marinated white onions and feta cheese and cilantro, and it's not like they just slap the meat on a tortilla. Like, these people take their time with it, and you get 3 and an $8 beer for $10. Are they stupid?
Yeah, and we're not even doing a commercial. So, normally the beer would be $8. So, to keep the tacos flowing, your dear Uncle Birch, he had to drink a few beers.
It's win-win. I get more tacos, you get more beer.
And Marta had to drink something while sitting around, waiting for me to drink my beer and, eat the tacos, right?
So I had a rum DMC, that's RUM, as in Marta, rum DMC, really good. I'm not going to tell you what all was in it, because there was a lot of stuff in it. Like I said, gourmet place. And then I had, it looked like Froze, F-R-O-Z-E, but the server said Froze, which is an E with an accent on it. I don't know why they didn't have the accent on the menu.
No editors?
I don't know. But it was really good, too. It had lemongrass and a lot of rose stuff. It had, like, rose water and rose vodka and something else and some kind of lemongrass syrup. And it was... It had it was like a slushy. It had like a huge chunk of shaved ice. It was like a snow cone.
Yeah.
It was really good. But I think I liked the second one better. The second one was garnished with banana chips, and the rim around the glass, okay, check this out. It was dried banana chips, dried lemon peel, salt, and sugar. Wrap your head around that. It was very good. I had to ask what it was because I couldn't tell.
Yeah. So
anyway,
that's what I'm
really
driving
happy about this place. So we had a good time.
That's what I'm driving at. And so I was just, full disclosure for our listeners, we always have a drink or 3 or 4 with Widdershins just to deal with the shit that goes on during Widdershins. But we had to warm up ahead of time.
Because Tuesday is my power day.
Yeah.
So
and it's almost your birthday.
Yeah.
And it was the first day of school. So we had to take the kids somewhere.
We had to celebrate.
Celebrate, not celibate.
Yeah.
That's a whole different religion there.
And we brought our own straws.
Brought our own straws, not Trump straws.
Not Trump straws. Trump makes, they're like laser embossed with his name on them, and they're plastic, and he says they're reusable and recyclable. I think any plastic straw is... quote, reusable and recyclable.
Not recyclable, but reusable.
Yeah. So we have our own stainless steel straws, not Trump straws. And they sell them 10 at a time. So if they're reusable, why do they have to sell that many at a time? I don't have 10 friends that I'm going to bring here.
Yeah. Well, and then there's the other thing. We just, we're in California, so it's all legal, so don't try anything. We just discovered marijuana vaping, and
we've known about marijuana for a little bit of time.
Yeah, but I've been smoking it, since 12 years old or something like that. And some friends came by and they had a vape, and we smoked some of that. And after a couple hits, we were both done, for the night.
I felt like I was 18 and a freshman in college, and I was smoking pot regularly back then in high school before that, but it just like there was something my friend was talking to me and I was looking at him and it was like wah 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 wah. It was that kind of high. So it was good.
So basically, where I'm trying to go there, it's like we're probably both higher. More high. More high than we've been in a very long time, and a little bit lit at the beginning of the show, which usually we get lit towards the end of the show. And you can usually tell when I'm slurring while reading the news stories towards the end, how many drinks we've had. But it's our show, and nobody can fire us, so we do that. So it's just basically full disclosure for our wonderful people.
Like we're driving anywhere.
It sounds like there's a lot of traffic out, but that's just
but that's
nearby.
Not our problem.
Yeah,
we are in our home.
Man, that weed pen will get y'all. Yes, that's what we got, man. Yeah, it gets y'all. It's very different. Just a couple hits, I'm high. We can smoke all night, every night, and not get high.
I have a prescription, so y'all can shut the fuck up.
Well, we're in California, so it doesn't fucking matter.
But if somebody really wanted to split hairs, I have a prescription.
All right.
A legitimate prescription. I didn't have to pay some random doctor who's never met me.
You hair splitters. What was that? Now that we're past all that, we had a mundane news story that you saved or something.
The swatting.
Oh, yeah, the swatting thing. Can you tell us something about that?
Well, I'm not gonna read it, but a friend of mine posted something. It's called swatting, capital SWAT, all caps, like as in SWAT team. And I guess Birch gave me the origins of that phrase and the term, but the way I was reading it now is it's a bunch of white supremacists, and they have a website. And they basically, anybody who like mostly journalists who write stories about white supremacy and stuff like that, which is how it showed up in the media. They will contact them and make all these threats. They're like I said, white supremacists, and what they do is they make these false reports that are so bad that it gets the SWAT team to come out to your house. And people have died wrongly. And I guess, like in this particular reporter's case, he was talking about how they threatened to send him some cocaine and, call the cops and get it. Or they're not even called. I don't know how they do it, but somehow this reporter was going to get busted because he got cocaine sent by, anonymous people.
I think you told me that they ordered it on the dark web or something.
Yeah, I was about to say that. They get it through the dark web, and it gets sent to these people. And so, sure enough, this guy got some white powder. The reporter got some white powder in the mail, and he immediately gave it to police. And the cop came to his house, and he was telling him, what the threats that they made. And the cop was like, okay, well, just let me know the next time they send you some coke. So the good news is it sounds like at least some cops are aware that this is a thing. So hopefully if you contact them before it happens, you don't always know that it's going to happen. So I don't know what happens if, after you already get it and they try to bust you.
Well, it's bad enough that the thing exists. It's worse now that white supremacists are using the thing. But as far as I know, it did originate in the gaming community, and there were a couple very specific cases. And I believe that the main case was some kids playing Call of Duty. And the kid that kept losing was a minor hacker, and he was able to hack enough to get the IP address of the kid on the other end and make a false police report that there was like a man with a gun or something like that at the kid's address. And the SWAT team went out, and at least and this happened several times, but in this one particular case, they shot the kid's father. The kid's father got killed. And I believe that's the case that they just got a conviction. There was just a conviction in one of those cases. But basically, some butthurt kid that lost a fucking game. got somebody killed. But they do this. They like send SWAT teams to people's houses, and it's just lucky that more people haven't been killed by these kind of things. And there may be more. I haven't really followed it that much, but I do know of that one case at least that one person's father was actually killed by the SWAT team, all because they lost a shooter game. Or any kind of game, but that's how it started. But now apparently some white supremacist groups have latched onto that idea.
So much going wrong on so many levels, because what's going to happen is it's going to become a thing, and then you're going to be able to inform the cops beforehand, and when you get the stuff, you're going to give it to the cops, and you're not going to get in trouble. But then they might have some legitimate people who are actually trying to get drugs sent in the mail, and then if they ever get caught, they're going to be like, oh, I don't know where that came from, and then the cops are going to be like, yeah, there's this thing going on. So I see both sides kind of exploiting it, because that's people.
Absolutely. Let's see, I've seen people posting that they are nationalists, but not white nationalists. Well,
so what's the difference?
I don't know, but it's more honest than anything. There's no white culture. There's no the Nazis are always going on about protecting their white culture. There is no such thing. There is no white culture. There's white people from a large swath of fucking Europe, and they don't have a mutual color or mutual culture. There is no white culture, so so they're nationalists but not white nationalists. So what? This nation, well, I believe that the people that are opposed to what's going on in this country are the most patriotic people there are. Patriotism never meant, blind obedience to the government. It usually meant opposing the government when it was appropriate. And it's just kind of ironic that the party that called itself the Patriots, and some of the people that were just involved in the party just like 10 years ago, where it was the fucking Tea Party, they were absolutely believed themselves patriots, and now they're the most unpatriotic people in the country.
We thought they were like the huge problem plaguing our society. Oh boy, were we wrong.
Yeah, Tea
Party's now
coming
is like fucking nothing.
Yeah. And I don't even, I think the Tea Party just got absorbed into the GOP or something. I don't know where they are.
Nobody even talks about them anymore.
Yeah.
They were radical at one point, but not anymore.
How do you be the Tea Party and suck Russia's dick? I don't know. These patriots, most of the time of my life, that the right wing's been toting the patriot banner, was in opposition to Russia. The big red menace and stuff. And then shit happened during Reagan where they weren't the big red menace. But now it turns out, the big red menace just never really stopped being a menace. It's more of a menace than ever. And clearly they have something on Trump. He's scared of, because he's just been sucking Russia's dick the entire time.
Kim Jong-un probably does too.
Kim Jong-un probably does, or he knows what the Russians have, or maybe all the former communists stick together and exchange information. I don't know, but he's in bed with the worst people. All of the people that the quote unquote patriots were against, but yet they still fall in line with his regime, and it's just crazy fucking time.
What the fuck is his problem?
Moscow.
There was God, I don't remember specifically what it was, but there was some House vote, and I don't know, might make it pointless for me to talk about this. I don't remember what the actual law was, but he led the Senate in, shutting down the whole thing, and they asked him why, and he said, because I get to decide what we vote on. So it was just some, weird thing, where that the house came up with rather than something that he came up with. And like, that's how dirty this fucking guy is. Like, he was like, I've known who he was for a really long time, but all of a sudden he just like really put himself out there. And it first happened when Scalia died, and Obama should have had the court pick, and he led that whole thing, and he fucking got away with it. And after that, he got the turkey. That's exactly where.
I was just about to say
that's exactly where he got the turkey. And after that, I mean, when did you ever hear about him before that? I mean, we all knew he was a piece of shit, but like he wasn't a huge threat, and now he's one of the worst people.
Okay.
I
gotta get in here and explain to these people. So,
I'm gonna take it back from here.
Okay, I recently told this story at Hexfest during at least one of my my workshops on magical warfare. But Marta taught me about this story, and I believe it was in Jerusalem to Lebanon. God, Belfast. I don't know. Jerusalem to Lebanon, I believe, was the book. But at any rate, it was an ancient Bedouin legend. Desert folk, right? And this old man, he heard something that if you ate fresh turkey, it would improve your longevity, your youth, and give you a longer life. So he got a turkey, and he raised this turkey, and he fed this turkey, and he fattened this turkey. And one day, somebody stole his turkey. And he called his sons. He called his sons to him, and he said, you need to get my turkey back. And they laughed at him. They said, Dad, what do you need a turkey for? Anyways, oh, don't worry about it. So somebody took your turkey. Who cares? Blah, blah, blah. And it was meaningless to them. Days later, somebody stole his camel. He called his sons before him. And he said, you need to get back my turkey. And they just, laughed and, made fun again. And days later, his daughter was raped. And sons came before him and said, Father, what do we do? He says, well, you should have gotten back my turkey. Mm-hmm. When they saw that they could take my turkey, we lost everything. And, Bedouin or not.
It's not even Bedouin. It's human nature.
It's saying something about the world.
You can have the nicest person on the planet, and if they are given that opportunity, most people will take it.
Give them an inch and they take a mile. There's plenty of other versions of the same idea. Yeah. So that's what Marta was talking about. They got the turkey.
Well, that's when Mitch McConnell got the turkey from our side. Nobody really fought him that hard, and I think the reason that happened, and I kind of found myself agreeing with it, is like all of them, and myself included, were like, well, Hillary's gonna win anyway, and Obama wants to pick this guy who's really actually a little too much on the center. Let Hillary win, and she'll pick somebody more on the left. That's what I thought. That's probably, what every Democrat thought. So we let it go, and then look who won, and then it all went to shit. I'm positive that that's what happened. Nobody fought it because we thought we were going to win, and we were going to get somebody less centrist than Merrick Garland.
Yeah. We didn't see it coming. Well, we didn't see Russia coming. My whole life. I often said this, like, when I was a kid, I was about the time Marta was born. I was being taught to hide under my desk in fear of her people. She was the Red Menace, the 70s. I didn't listen. God, were they right? My God. But here we are. The wall came down. Communism came down. Nothing really came down.
The coup happened on my 18th birthday, which I think is kind of symbolic too.
But here we are. Yeah, after
Oh,
all
my
this time.
My birthday's tomorrow, so it's the anniversary of the coup.
Yeah, it's
I'm not
the
gonna tell you
anniversary of
the
the coup.
But it's the anniversary of the coup tomorrow.
But see, I don't even know what I'm
Today,
going to say.
if you're in Australia.
Yes, because you're already getting birthday wishes. But after all this time,
Or
Russia finally did it. Russia finally did it, man. Fucking touche, man. Touche. Nice blow.
I need to
Destroying
read
the country.
This just came over on my phone, but Donald Trump delays meeting with the Danish Prime Minister over their lack of interest in the Greenland sale. So not only was it not for sale to begin with, but the fact that they're not interested in selling it, in addition to the fact that it wasn't for sale to begin with, he's not going to meet with them now. He was scheduled to go to I think it was going to go to actually to Denmark, and now he's not going because they don't want to sell him what he wants.
And the funniest thing about all this is like throughout post-colonial history, it's always been the big joke that Iceland's not ice and Greenland's not green.
And he actually came out like he doesn't even have enough class to like pretend that that's not the reason. He tweeted, "Denmark is a very special country with incredible people, but based on Prime Minister Mette Frederikson's comments that she would have no interest in discussing the purchase of Greenland, I will be postponing our meeting scheduled in 2 weeks for another time." So he's coming out and saying that he's going to postpone a meeting that's been planned, I'm guessing, for a while because they don't want to sell something that wasn't for sale. So he's doing this shit. Like, who's going to put their foot down? Please, Denmark. Please, you do it. Somebody has to do it. This is ridiculous. It's gone on for way too long. Like, who has ever done this?
Nobody. Not just the 1600.
Presidential, whatever, state-sanctioned meeting because they don't want to sell something that you just like literally pulled out of your ass.
And he pulled it out of his ass.
When does anybody did he talk about that in his campaign during the debates? Like, that was never his plan, and now all of a sudden he wants to buy it. They don't want to sell it, so he's doing this shit.
It was I saw it. It was one of his rants at one of his rallies where he just says all kind of random shit off the cuff, and then he has to back it up later. But he was like, "Well, Greenland's all green, and I'm all about green." You fucking dumbass. I'm telling you, for thousands of years, nobody ever fucking fell for that.
Deal. He's not into that green.
But nobody ever fell for that, man. It's fucking Greenland's not green and Iceland's not ice.
I learned about that in 7th grade. I was 12 years old when I was like, Iceland is not ice, Greenland is not green.
I always thought the rich went to better schools.
That's how stupid he was, is he couldn't even go to a better school.
I always thought that, they had the best education, and that's how they learned how to fuck us all. But I don't know. Not in this case, apparently. Oh, my God. You're listening to Witterson's Radio. And, wow, we've been ranting for a little while. We should probably play something. Get our shit together, our news stories together, and listen to some Flogging Molly. That's what we're going to do.
His eyes, they closed, and his last breath spoke. He had seen all to be seen. A life once full, now an empty vase, with the blossoms on his early grave. Walk away, me boy, walk away, me boy, and by morning we'll be free. Wipe that golden tear from your mother dear, and raise what's left of the flag for me. Then the rosary beads, count them 1, 2, 3, fell apart as they hit the floor. In our garb of black, we must pay respect to the colour we're born to mourn. Walk away, me boys, walk away, me boys, by morning we'll tear from your mother, dear, and raise what's left of the flag for me.
Discontent, fan flames, fans of flames of discontent. When I think about the future coming closer every day, I think a revolution, it seems the only way. But I wonder if we've got it, what it takes to be free, to form one mighty fist and put it through the TV. Wake from our oppression before we're put to sleep. The fighting weed of apathy sinks its roots too deep. The flames of discontent, fan the flames, fan the flames of discontent. Call into action against an economic greed that induces and produces these things we'll never need. They need more walls to house the poverty, building more prison camps to house you and me. The flames of discontent, fan the flames, fan the flames of discontent.
Widdershins Radio. That's Just Kidding. That was me. That's me and Just Kidding. And then what was it? I think Flogging Molly before that. We only just heard the two songs. But I got to tell you, if you're listening right now, if you're listening to the archives, well, maybe that's because you didn't know when the live broadcast was happening, and maybe that's because you're not following Widdershins Radio. Now, you might be listening to us on iHeartRadio or Tumblr or wherever the fuck else we are broadcasting on. There's a follow button. There's a follow button or a subscribe or something to that extent, because we, as we all know on Widdershins, we have a large package, and we are only giving you the tip, teasing, if you will, with our large package. We can go on the air.
A large package.
Of course you do, baby. We can go on the air 3 times per day, unlimited times per day, and potentially 24 hours if we just reboot it every 3 hours.
I love the sound of that.
You love the sound of that? Just like reboot every 3 hours and go again.
I love the sound of it.
We could do that on Widdershins. You may not be able to do that in your life, but we could do that on Widdershins, and we did it one time. We did like 9 hours one time just to see if we could pull it off, baby.
Yep.
Yeah, we did it. We did it to y'all, and we could do that. We could have gone live when we were in New Orleans. We didn't. We were having too much fun, but we could have.
I just wanted to have a little vacay and not worry about anything, so that's why we didn't do it.
But if we had, and you weren't following, then you wouldn't
Well, we
know.
got back on a Monday, so we could have done it the next day, but
Coulda.
I needed more rest.
Yeah, we could have, but we didn't. But if we had, you wouldn't know, because you weren't following. So you need to follow. Because even though we got a large package of Witterson's radio, I think I believe we're about 50% of our storage space, which means I'm going to have to pay for a larger package of some kind in the near future. I don't know. Followers somehow helps our commercial rating, and maybe we'll get more money to pay that stuff that way. I don't know how that works. I barely follow that, but there are commercials at the beginning and I believe the end of the show. That's what that's all about, man. We gotta try and pay the bills, But what was I saying? Oh yeah, follow us. God damn it, just follow us. I don't believe I had to make it that long-winded for you people to get it. But this story, this comes from us to us through Pathos by Estrella, written by Estrella. And for some reason, I found myself talking about this weird piece of our history of late. Found myself motivated. And when I read this story, I thought of that weird piece of our history, and maybe I'll tell you about that in a few. We'll see if the story actually gets there. But a librarian says, witchy occult books are stolen the most from the library. The other day I visited my local library. I knew where to look the Wiccan pagan witchcraft books, and I had a list of ones I wanted. However, even though the computer told me that they were supposed to be on the shelves, couldn't find them anywhere. I asked the librarian if the books could be anywhere else. She tapped her keyboard and frowned at the computer screen before her. It says we have a lot of them, but that doesn't mean anything. Pagan and Wiccan books are the most likely to be stolen, and books about witchcraft and the occult too. Really? I asked. Yes, mostly teenagers, I think. Is that a local phenomenon, or does it happen everywhere? She shrugged apologetically. I've heard from other librarians that it happens everywhere. She walked me to an aisle where the books were supposed to be, and lo and behold, there were no books on the shelves whatsoever. I ended up buying the ones that I needed from online sources, but I had a pit in my stomach. I knew that I wanted to write about this. Why did this happen in this day and age of easy access to millions of books? It turns out the librarian was right, at least according to other online sources. Books about the abnormal, including witchcraft, rank among the top 9 categories, according to one website. Books about controversial topics ranked most likely to be stolen, according to another website, especially in more conservative places like where I live. Still another website points out that the occult books are among the most likely to be stolen from libraries. Interestingly, bookstores didn't report the same problem. Of course, some teenagers do steal things. Many of them have little money to buy these kind of books or a credit card to buy them online, and little access to a brick-and-mortar bookstore. It's also likely that they don't have access to or don't want to steal from an occult/witch bookstore. A lot of libraries have poor security, no cameras to catch thieves. Since libraries are tax-funded, thieves may view it as their right to take what they or probably their parents contributed. Let's see. Let me scroll. I'm scrolling down. There could be another interpretation. Book burners. As my friend Talmains says, it is easy to blame teenagers, and if all of the books from the shelf are gone, it might be more likely that someone is deliberately removing them. Several other people, including Ashley, a former librarian, pointed out these kind of books are stolen by people who don't wish for them to be read. In other words, book burners. It's pretty sad when someone is so insecure about their religion that they would stoop to destroying books that give people other opinions. Besides, whatever happened to thou shalt not steal? I'm certain that library books apply to that commandment. I could make a statement about the irony of the situation, but I'll let it go at this time. But if book burners are indeed stealing all the witch books, the best option for the library might be to invest in e-books and e-audiobooks that can't be stolen. If possible, some of the greater theft protection for these books would also be good, like an embedded chip. Yet another option, a jack, librarian pointed out, is to buy every single one of them again and stock the shelves. This comment made me very happy. And there's more to the story. You can read that at pathos.com. But I've been moved to bring that up in a lot of discussions lately on some of the new witch sites. And back in the 80s, there were organized church groups that stole witchcraft books from the library to keep the kids from being able to read about this kind of stuff. And it was, a very known thing. And, you should be able to Google it, and she should be able to find all the information in the world. And I maybe that's why I felt the need to bring it up again recently, because it's a thing that's still going on. Good God-fearing Christians stealing books. Woo! What would Jesus steal? What?
Nothing.
Looking at me. Let's this one I thought was fascinating. Clouty and clouty pollution. I thought it was interesting because I never knew what this thing was called. But Britain, Ireland, Scotland, when you tear off a piece of cloth off your clothes and hang it as an offering or a prayer on a tree or a bush, it's called a clouty. I knew about the thing, but I did not know what it was called. But let's see, by Cheyenne McShee, August 7th, 2019. In early July, the Scotsman reported that workers from the Forestry and Land of Scotland had removed clouties from a Ferry Hill. The removal angered locals at the site. Ferry No has a special significance. In 1692, local people found the body of Reverend Robert Kirk on the Ferry No of Doon Hill in Aberfoyle, Scotland. Kirk had written The Secret Commonwealth about the fair folk of the No. Legends arose that Kirk's writing about the fair folk had angered them. They whisked him away to their realm and left a changeling in his place. A clouty is a piece of cloth tied to a tree branch. In a similar spell work, some people also leave offerings under the tree. The word Knowe, Knowe, is a Scottish variant of the word knoll. Aberfoyle lies north of Glasgow. In the 70s, an excavation of the Ferry No revealed that it was the remains of an Iron Age roundhouse fort called a broch. The broch had been built on top of a naturally occurring knoll. A representative from Forestry and Land Scotland said that some of the clouties threatened the local ecosystems. They were not biodegradable. Forestry and Land Scotland said that they would work with the locals in the future to avoid future conflict. Clouties occur throughout Britain and Ireland. This may reflect an ancient Celtic tradition. Unfortunately, the tradition is long since fragmented into different streams. Some parts of that tradition are now lost. Some current traditions may focus on the behavior of the ritual, but lack of a coherent magical theory of how it works. In addition to the fragmented traditions, people have invented plastic and synthetic materials. Original and intact pagan cultures had no knowledge of these materials. Ancient traditions would have no understanding of how these materials might impact the spirits of land, sea, and sky. 3 cloudy traditions. A quick Google search revealed 3 different current interpretations of the cloudy spellwork. The search was by no means exhaustive, and other interpretations no doubt exist. All 3 sources reported cloudy pollution. People had tied the following items to trees like light cloudies, children's toys, jewelry, plastic streamers, and stuffed animals. None of these can biodegrade. The culture trip stressed the importance of nearby healing wells. According to this site, people would visit the wells on the cross-quarter days to perform cloudy spellwork. First, the person with the cloudy would dip it into the water from the well. Then they would say a prayer and tie the cloudy to a tree or bush. If their working involved healing, the ritual would have another step. The person with the cloudy would dip the cloudy in the well and wash the afflicted area of the body. Then they would tie it to a tree. As the cloth would rot away, so would the affliction. The Windling, Terry Windling, considers cloudies to be an offering to the local spirits. The cloth was first to be dipped in well water and pressed against the troubled part of the body. While thus pressed, it becomes linked to the affliction. It is then tied to a tree and left to decay. None of that goes against anything that I ever learned, but I just don't know how it became lost, that they should be natural fibers. Cotton was always the kind of thing that I was taught with this, and cotton biodegrades. Man, talk about shit being lost over time. Let's see, the person making the cloudy would have... think I got it back. Well, God, I hope it wasn't like that for the whole story. But, yeah, well, thanks for messaging me, whoever the hell that was. Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't bump that wire.
Like I
Lisa.
said, the wire.
Lisa Schofield, thank you for telling me the audio went down. Hopefully it wasn't down for too long. But
I'm sure you weren't saying anything of importance.
Oh, come on now. Don't use non-biodegradable cloudies. That's not important. Yeah. What you got to say about that?
What's a cloudy?
Oh dear. Oh, you could.
Like
Okay.
CLOUTY or something.
OUTIE.
TIE. The point is, there's a T instead of a D.
It's a little piece of cloth you hang on a bush
Oh,
to
yeah,
remove an
right.
ailment, and clouty. But the idea is it needs to rot. So if you got a non-biodegradable clouty, then what happened?
It doesn't rot.
Exactly. So how good is that clouty? So if you missed a lot of the story because the microphone was tweaking, it kind of took a hit. It's kind of bent. So I have to position the microphone cord very specifically, and have to get a new plug really soon. So thanks for telling us all that it tweaked out.
Yeah.
Let me play you something and figure out what the hell my next story was. I love that sound. No, I don't. I hate that sound.
The sound of inevitability.
It is the sound. It's always inevitable that that's going to happen. Widdershins. Okay. Lisa says they got most of it. All right. You probably got the most important part. Don't use non-biodegradable clouties. Now that we know what those things are called, I learned at least that from it on Widdershins.
touch of a velvet hand, like a lizard on a window pane. Man in the crowd with the multicolored mirrors on his hobnail boots, lying with his eyes while his hands are busy working overtime. A soap impression of his wife, which he ate and donated to the National Trust.
Is she really going out with him?
Inside of me, it's kind of strange, like a stormy sea. I don't know why. I guess these things have gotta be. I've got a new rose, I got it good. Yes, I knew that I always would. I can't stop to mess around. I got a brand new rose in town. See the sun, it shines. Don't get too close or it'll burn your eyes. Don't you run away that way. You can come back another day. I got a new rose, I got it good. Yes, I knew that I always would. I can't stop to mess around. I got a brand new rose in town. I never thought this could happen to me. I feel so strange. Oh, why should it be? I don't deserve somebody this great. I better go, or it'll be too late. Strange like a stormy sea. I don't know why. I guess these things have gotta be. I got a new rose, I got a good. Yes, I knew that I always would. I can't stop to mess around. I got a brand new rose in town. Whoa.
The Damned on Widdershins Radio. I think we heard the Breeders back there somewhere with Happiness is a Worm Gun, and I don't know what the hell. We heard before that, but I told you people before. I told you need to follow us. And if you don't follow us, then you're not in the chat room. And if you're not in the chat room, then you don't know half the stuff going on around here. And here in the chat room, I got Strix talking about Mercury retrograde. It's not Mercury retrograde, but this Uranus retrograde kicking my ass. Uranus, yeah. Well, Strix. I know, you get around there, Strix. And I don't know, you know who we are, and I can't condone any more whining about this retrograde and that retrograde when Uncle Birch.
There's gonna be
always
some.
gonna be a retrograde.
I mean, we had 10 planets,
Yeah.
and now they're not even counting Pluto, so not 9 planets or like whatever.
Yeah.
But something's gonna be in retrograde most of the time. I refuse to let that control my life.
And Uncle
My
Birch.
personal trajectory.
Uncle Birch already saved the occult world, man. We don't have to deal with that shit anymore. I don't know how you missed the memo, but if you just go to my Uncle Birch page on Facebook, I know it's there. It's on all of my pages, but I made me this little sigil for these kind of things. I made it for Mercury retrograde, but all you got to do is change the glyph associated with the planet on the sigil. If you see the sigil, you'll understand exactly what I'm saying. It's a really simple switch, but let me give you the rant, because apparently you missed this part somehow. I know, because Strix is paying attention, but somehow you missed this part. Uncle Birch has this whole rant about this. Our ancestors once upon a time figured out how to sail across the ocean, and they did this with broad sails. And the way broad sails worked is like if you had the wind at your back, roughly at your back, you could sail. And if you didn't, you had to drop sail and just float around for a while waiting for the wind to shift, and then you could continue your journey. You couldn't go anywhere until that shift happened. But then, later, our other more advanced ancestors, they developed this thing called this triangular sail. And then this series of triangular sails, just like they used to use the broad sails. And with the triangular sail, you can sail almost into the wind. Into the wind, slight angle, but you're using the force against you to propel you forward rather than hold you back. A witch must take the reins, my witches. Don't take the ride, take the reins. So I made this little sigil because I hear this stuff coming up every time Mercury goes retrograde. I got a couple friends going on and on about that. Now, it's, if Mercury's not retrograde, it's Mercury retrograde shadow that's causing the thing that happened. And then now Uranus is retrograde, and then, Mayanus will be retrograde after that. I don't know. But I made this little sigil, and it just used that little sigil. The more people that use that sigil, the more powerful it becomes. But I shared it with all of my students. I shared it on my pages. I made it for Mercury. Just changed the planetary glyph on the sigil, and you got a sigil to sail against the flow of any planet and get where you need to go. Use the force against you to propel you forward, like our ancestors did way back in the way back. But I got to tell y'all, now that Hexfest is over, Conjure Gala is a coming. The Mile High Conjure Gala, the start of all of the Conjure Galas, the roots, if you will, of the Conjure Galas. Coming up, it's right around the corner, November 9th and 10th in Denver, Colorado. The Mile High Conjure Gala is a one-of-a-kind event in Denver, Colorado that brings together esteemed teachers and elders for a weekend, opening the world of conjure to you. Candelo presenters this year, Candelo Cambisa, Charles Porterfield, Brother Moses, Michelle Jackson, Beverly Smith, Ifa Abeyu, Yayi Joycey, Hoodoo Senmois. Quite a lineup. And I asked for a PSA, but I'm going to have to go to their page myself, I think, because let's see, Conjure Gala. I think it's Conjure. Oh, there we go. ConjureGala.com. There you go. So, to get tickets, I just wanted to double check the website before I told you. You need to go to ConjureGala.com. That's Conjure, CONJURE, Gala, GALA.com. Get your tickets. I don't even know what the tickets are yet because it wasn't in my plug there. But Mile High Conjure Gala, man, this is what, 3 years now? I think it's the third year. I think it's at least the third year. Yeah, a lot of these, back in the early days of Widdershins, some of our first stories, the endangered elephant in the room, Tiger Gates, all of that stuff was about this huge brouhaha in the Conjure and ATR community. Yeah, I think it was Tiger Gate, but we did Tiger Blood. Yeah. There was the endangered elephant in the room, 2 Electric Boogaloo, and several. A lot of our first episodes were involving this drama going on, and we didn't know it was going to happen. Our show just happened to exist and have a format that was open to that kind of thing. We didn't even have to try. We covered a lot of this stuff, but so out of that brouhaha, the endangered elephants in the room, the Tiger Gates, all of that thing, came the Conjure Gala, a whole other Conjure community doing it for themselves, rather than the groups that they had come through. I saw Witch Dr. Utu in the chat room, but now I can't see it. I'm going to have to see where that is. Chat room is tripping. But the Conjure Gala, man, got to check that out. I'm sure I didn't hear specifically, but usually when Candelo Cambisa's there, he's going to be like the master of ceremonies or something like that. He just can't not. He just has to be on the stage. But he's with Charles Porterfield. He has to be on the stage too. So I'm not sure. One of the two. At the very least, but be quite a thing to see. Let me see. People are replying to Utu's thing, and I can't see Utu's thing. It's not that there's that much traffic in the chat room. All right. Well, hello, Utu. I know you're out there, but I can't see what you said anymore. It faded from the screen. Let's see. I had more news other than the Conjure Galas and stuff. Now, you can find us at widdershinsradio@gmail.com. There's also a Widdershins page on Facebook. I don't know. Search for Widdershins. Look for our little logo. You'll know it's us. Should be easy to find. And then where else are we? We're on YouTube. Yeah.
I don't know what else.
I was just talking about our various plugs. You find, a lot of my teachings at gumroad.com/witchschool, WITCHSKEWL. Oh, there's Utu. That's deep. Utu's getting poetical in the chat room. He says, it's just better sometimes to be the river than a leaf floating in it. Not dismissing it altogether. Yeah. You gotta navigate the river. Sometimes you're gonna have to go upstream, man. Maybe you need a triangular sail to go upstream. But a witch should not be ruled by these kind of things. We need to be aware of all these planetary movements. I always teach my students this. Magic is a science, and science is a tracking of variables. And the variables recognized by magic are uncalculable. there are so many random energies flying onto our planet from elsewhere in the universe, from stars that went supernova billions of years ago. Those things are hard to track. So we're trying to track all of the variables that we can track. The planets that we know are here, the moon that we know is here, the movements of the Earth. We're trying to track all the variables that we can track, because there's going to be those unknown variables that can't be tracked, and those are the things that'll make our magic turn weird. Utu likes my sigil. Yeah, well, thank you. I very simplistic little sigil, but I think it got the point of the sigil, the subliminal, subconscious idea across to the sigil. I hope. Let me see. I had this other story. Oh yeah.
Guess what?
What?
Tomorrow's my birthday.
Yeah, in just a couple hours. Some places it's already your birthday.
Yeah.
Australians are already wishing your birthday.
Australian friends wish me a happy birthday already.
I always thought they were ahead of us.
They're ahead of us. That's why they wish me a happy
Wait,
birthday.
ahead of it? No. Yeah, I mean behind us. Yeah.
No, they're ahead of us.
Ahead of us.
That's why they wish me a happy birthday.
Huh. All right. So I just wonder how it is when I have a reading with an Australian person, how they know what day I'm talking about.
They
just figure that out.
They probably configure their setup.
Yeah, because I won't figure that out. I'll say like
Probably-
1 o'clock
they
Pacific
probably,
time.
consult a calculator or whatever that tells them what the time that you said translates into their time, so then they're ready.
This one is from the Wild Hunt. Again, Sean McShee, August 14th. Tennessee law restricts online ordinations. Tennessee recently passed a law that would reject the credential of clergy ordained online. This no online clergy credentials law would strip clergy ordained online of their legal status as clergy. Sound like church and state problem here. Clergy ordained Thanks, Lisa. Oh, God. I don't know how much of that fucked up. Probably right when Marta got up from their chair. I wasn't looking at the screen. I was reading this thing. But Tennessee recently passed a law stripping online clergy of their credentials and banning their credentials. And, this... the reason probably why this shows up in the Wild Hunt and why it caught my attention is, back in my day, that was the only way for pagan clergy to get credentials. There were very few, if any, accredited pagan churches. And most times, the pagans I know would get ordained under a Unitarian type of umbrella, something like that. Even the Unitarian, Universalist, that's pretty much Unitarian, and that was the place. I can't even remember the name, but I think I still have credentials there. I think they're like lifelong, but you used to have to send them $10. You got your credentials. Then later you could just do it online and not have to pay the $10. But it was basically a Unitarian-based church, and that was the only place that, even though Wicca was recognized as a religion all the way back, like I think 84, I believe is when it happened. There were just very few Wiccan churches that could ordain you, and I won't use the word Wicca that often, but when it comes to religious rights, well, that's how I get my religious rights is through Wicca. Witchcraft doesn't really have those. Let's see, 6:30 already. Let's see, did I have another story? I thought I had another story. Oh yes. Well, this one's fascinating, and I'll try and keep an eye on my microphone in case it goes haywire again. It's just the actual plug for the microphone is bent almost at a 45-degree angle, but the show had to go on, and it still worked. It still functioned, so I just need to get a new adapter for the damn thing, and hopefully it won't do that ever again. But this comes from the HavanaTimes.org. Religious rituals in Cuba without animal sacrifices, August 17th, 2019, by IPS Cuba. The movement has slowly garnered supporters on the Caribbean island and contributes towards the protection of the environment. Some followers of Afro-Cuban religions agree that you can omit animal sacrifice from rituals, which is in line with various origins of these animist religions and closely tied to nature and its elements. On August 9th, the issue was raised and discussed during the conference of the Regla Olosa Ifa. Okay, the Regla Olosa Ifa, without animal sacrifice, headed by Babalao Ifa priest Rafe Montalvan, a spokesperson for the movement that is slowly growing in the Caribbean country with 11.2 million inhabitants. Sacrifice of will. The roundtable took place at the Casa Tomadre Miarte, an independent and community project in the capital's Merino municipality, whose objectives involve increasing the value of contributions made by Afro-descendant population and deconstructing racist and discriminatory discourse which persists within society. Before dozens of attendees, Montalvan explained that he began the process of modifying sacrifice rituals around 2009, when he began to ask himself many questions and reflect upon the points that he found contradictory in studying a great deal about the origins of religious practices. He noted that these religions come from Africa, from tribes with a culture that was developed centuries before Christ and brought over to the Caribbean island by slavers between 16th and 19th centuries, and have evolved with syncretic expressions. What was community-based in Africa became personal here. It was impossible for everyone in the village to have a goat to offer their orisha or deity, a legua or elegua, because there was only one in the entire place, and everyone went there to pay tribute, he pointed out. He realized that the initiation ceremonies he had taken part in, when the time came for the sacrifice, the deity accepted another form of sacrifice. Instead of using animal's blood, he offered a juice or a symbolic fruit to the orisha. Montalvan spoke out against practices which involve aggression to any species, such as banging nails and rails into royal palms and ceiba trees, or putting out sacrificed animals that then rot in the street the next day to care centers and schools, institutions, homes, with the risk of disease spreading the pollution that come as a result. You can pick up a chicken, clean yourself, and in doing so, you are no longer a rapist, thief, crook. Can a bath external purification resolve my problem, he wondered, when talking about the sacrifice of will concept which he defends. The real sacrifice tends to be one's will, because the problems lie within one's conscious, within one's self. Change needs to come from inside. However, how willing are we to sacrifice our will? He asked, leaving the audience to meditate upon this. Debate. Several participants voiced their concerns and thoughts about the subject in today's national context. Greta Monteros de Oca, a ballet dancer and animal rights activist, asked the extent to which the increase in Afro-Cuban religious practices influences or not the absence of the Animal Protection Act in Cuba, which citizens have been demanding for years. Watch that wire.
Watching the wire.
You hit it on your way out. Yes, you did. Watch the replay. According to activist poet Enfibola Salafola, blaming religions with African roots for the fact that the state doesn't want to improve this act forms part of the internalized racism that permeates every institution and population as a whole. The thing kind of trails off there, but it was fascinating to even see that come up, or even that as a possibility. We, both of us, are initiates of an Afro-Cuban tradition that does sacrifice, Apollo. And I always said, after having to do that, it's like I never liked it. I never enjoyed killing an animal. That's why it was a sacrifice. It sucked ass. I hated that. And when you originally are doing it, I can't, talk too much, but you're not allowed to use a blade. You have to use your bare hands to commit the sacrifice, and that's, gory as fuck, and I'll never forget that. And I'm not going to say anything more about that, but never liked it. It's not anything I enjoy doing. I don't enjoy killing animals. I'm not a sociopath. That's why it was a sacrifice, but it was always kind of a given in those traditions. That's just the way it was. But in those traditions, that's just the way it was, referred to you can't have a gay polero. And just in our brief few years in the tradition, people have had to face the fact that there are gay poleros. It's part of the narrative now. They have to face that. Women are given a low position in Palo. It's like one of the few patriarchal traditions of its kind, and women can't do this and can't do that, are forbidden from this, forbidden of that. Their natural cycles are called into question. You can't be in the Menonso if you're on your period, shit like that. Old taboos, old traditions with no foundation still exist in a lot of the traditions, but in our time in the traditions, we see those things fall by the wayside. They're not everybody's traditions. And part of the problem...
I'm still alive.
Yeah, you're still alive. You've been there. You've bled that. And your Lucero did not eat you. But things change over time. And I think part of the problem is that, the tradition I'm talking about, insists to this day on being an oral tradition, and the folly of all oral witchcraft, magical and or pagan traditions throughout time was that they tried to remain oral, and a lot of confusion happens. A lot of secrets are lost. There's only so much time you have to talk to somebody and for them to remember everything you say. There's no way a tradition can remain intact and pure being an oral tradition. So, maybe Paulo needs to start writing shit down soon, because times they are changing. They weren't talking about Paulo there, but, Paulo's as big as Ifa in Cuba. So it might as well have been. It's going to affect them too. So, I don't know, man. I don't know. Let's see. Did I have another story? I'm not even sure if I had it. You think Marta, the clown to the right of me, that's almost about to bump that wire again.
I didn't.
She thinks that I need to play you some music so I can go get her a drink. Can you believe that shit?
Is that
Man.
reasonable?
No, it's typical. Typical is what it is. Widdershins. Well, of course, Bad Religion. on Widdershins Radio. And I did get the woman a drink, Lily. Of course I did.
Thank you, Lily. Everybody.
Yeah, if Lily hadn't told me to get you a drink, man, I would have been like sitting here not getting you a drink.
Yeah.
But I did.
I would have figured something out.
Yeah, I figured you would have figured. You're listening to Widdershins Radio, which happens every Tuesday at 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, unless we decide to go on elsewhere because of our large package. Exactly.
Go on anytime we want. Anytime.
We're just giving them a tip.
A tip?
We're just giving them the tip of our package.
Oh, yeah, you just gave the tip.
We're teasing them.
Yeah.
Teasing y'all. We could do so much
Tip is
better.
free, and the rest we'll talk about it.
Yeah. So, share the show with your friends and family. No, maybe not your family, but, share the show. Help us get out there and our tendrils to spread. You can send us. I haven't checked Widdershins Radio in like weeks, but yeah, our email, the widdershinsradio@gmail.com. Yeah. Exactly. I need to do that. It's not in my actual iPhone, my accounts and shit. Yeah. And you can find us at Widdershins Radio on Facebook. And you can also see you can watch our rebroadcast, which is only audio, but somehow it pops up on YouTube. I clicked on something. I don't know what it is. But you can see us on YouTube too, and iHeartRadio. We're all over the goddamn place. But before we go, because we feel the need to rock out a bit, even though we've been rocking, but we are out of material at this time. But I was going to tell you at the beginning of the show. It's like last night, which is what Mondays. I guess Mondays is when Hex Offenders is on. And that's Christian Day's show. It's on all of his Facebook pages at once and on YouTube live, and and it's video. He's there, and had some technical difficulties, but I eventually. So I was trying to help him with technical difficulties. I ended up on his show, and our last show was Christian Day, where he ran the show, and we drank and smoked in the background. But a
good time was had by all.
A good time was had by all. But so then last night, I ended up on Christian's show, and it's pretty much the same show. Talked about most of the same stuff, but it was just different. I was on the other end. I probably had an echo. He had an echo when he was on our show, Epic. You mentioned that somebody reported your Facebook page. No, somebody reported our YouTube broadcast. Christian mentioned some details about somebody early into the broadcast, within the first 30 seconds or so that he got on the air, and it's. I haven't seen much of that except a little blip on my radar from YouTube. Spreaker doesn't seem to care either. But there was anything that Christian said about her was already public knowledge. He didn't dox anybody on the show or anything like that. So don't think anything will come of that. But it shows that trolls were listening. We had, definitely a spike in live listeners, and even the rebroadcast with Christian Day on the show, which tends to happen. I love the man, but we also have him on because he's good for ratings, and hopefully he has us on too because we're good for ratings. But whatever the case, we knew that a lot of those ratings were the haters. And it's like, a click's a click, bitches. A click's a click. My name is Michael Carell. This is
Marta Carell.
The clown to the right of me. You want to find anything that I'm doing out there, just Google Uncle Birch, man. Just Google me, bitches. Google me. Google Uncle Birch, and you'll find all the stuff, and it saves me from a whole lot of repeating myself. But,
And we didn't even talk about Marta's blog yet. Lairofthedog.com. You can see, the only things that we do that are like not witchy, at least me, is the Marta's blog stuff.
Yeah, because I'm not going to be in your shadow, I'm going to do my own thing. Yeah. So I'm going to have a blog, because that's what I do. I'm a writer. Like, whether I'm a blog or not, I'm a writer. And so I might as well have a blog. Yeah. And it's going to be about stuff that has absolutely zero to do with you. And I love you to death, but I got to do my own thing.
Yeah, absolutely. But I get featured in my socks. Yeah. My socks get featured in it from time to time.
Talk about, what you do or anything. You're just
like
my bitch.
If you ever wanted to see what we do in our off hours, that's the only way, because I don't have any off hours other than that. But my wife and my dog are influencers in Hollywood and started to get recognized on the street. Definitely the dog gets recognized on the street and Trader Joe's and lots of other places. But it's lairofthedog.com. And I think every Tuesday it comes out same day. LAIR of the dog.com.
And my goal is to publish 10 a.m. on Tuesdays, and I've been doing that so far up until now. I'm sure I'll somehow jinx that for myself and have some problem next week, but basically Tuesday mornings is when I strive to publish. Tuesday is my power day, so of course I'm going to publish on Tuesday. But that's what I got to say about that.
Lairofthedog.com. I have experienced all of the stories in the blog, but they read like fascinating tales that I've never experienced. Tales of intrigue and humor and tragedy. Like the time when I mistakenly strapped our dog to the table rather than the chair, and he had a scuffle with another dog, and coffee went everywhere. We were in white.
Old high school haunt. That was actually the place that I was looking forward to the most. The place where I've been going for, like, you don't even want to know how many years ago. Playing pool from high school. I was so excited about that. I fucking wore white pants for who knows why the fuck. And that was the one time we had a huge accident. But it's okay. I don't even care.
I had light colors as well. Normally if I was wearing black, it wouldn't have been a problem. But even some of my blacks are gray right
now. Like, who would care?
My black's gray now, so.
I happen to be wearing white linen pants. So, there we go.
But check it out, lairofthedog.com, and we'll see you next week. Who knows what we're going to do? I don't know. You know? I don't know.
Long ago in a dusty village full of hunger, pain and strife, a man came forth with a vision of truth and the way to a better life. He was convinced he had the answer, and he compelled people to follow along. But the hunger never vanished, and the man was banished, and the village right up at night. At a time when wise men peered through glass tubes towards the sky, the heavens changed in predictable ways, and one man was able to find that he had thought he'd found the answer, and he was quick to write his revelation. But as they were scrutinized in his colleagues' eyes, he soon became a mockery. Don't tell me about the answer, 'cause then another one will come along soon. I don't believe you have the answer. I've got ideas too. But if you got enough naivety and you got conviction, then the answer is perfect for you. charity. Everyone begging for an answer without regard to validity. The searching never ends, it goes on and on and on for eternity.